because he's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized, firstly because he became drunk in public.
The whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know.
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
Tom, do you think Harry and Meghan are fast learning what they signed away when they took this Netflix big moolah? And I would say they signed away their credibility and their dignity.
Well, that's our view, but it's not theirs. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. So I think they're just stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix, they're tied to their book, and all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn their money.
But if she hasn't had the children herself or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
Choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets. And I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know.
Her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
Absolutely. What we're really now seeing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long, are really the aggressors.
Had you hoped your children, Archie and Lilibet, would have had that you think they won't be able to now with this decision?
Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is sadly for funerals or court cases.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Arthur.
And the Duchess of Sussex is marking her daughter Lilibet's 4th birthday by sharing some personal photographs. A rare sighting of a little girl seen in this picture with her father, Prince Harry, and now her mom. The child's face is partially covered as the royal couple is known to fiercely guard the privacy of their 2 children. On Instagram, Meghan wrote, "Happy birthday to our beautiful girl. 4 years ago today, she came into our lives, and the day is brighter and better because of it."
It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
And Prince Harry and Meghan Markle believed they could build a perfect bubble, a world where cameras stayed outside the gates, questions stayed unanswered, and their children existed only on their terms. But what they never expected was that the very secret they tried hardest to protect would become the weapon tearing their entire story apart. Because now, the whispers aren't quiet anymore, they're loud, relentless, and dangerous. Explosive claims from Tom Bower have thrown Archie and Lilibet straight into the eye of the storm, reopening questions that were never supposed to be asked out loud. Bloodlines, legitimacy, truth. And once those words enter the royal conversation, there's no shutting the door again. Palace silence is being interpreted as strategy. Calls for NUD tests are spreading like wildfire. And what once felt like fringe gossip has morphed into a full-scale royal crisis. This isn't just another Sussex controversy. This is the kind of scandal that stains history. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are back under the microscope, but this time it has nothing to do with Netflix, podcasts, or palace feuds. This time it's about their children. Tom Bower has detonated what many are calling his most dangerous bombshell yet, openly raising questions that cut straight to the core. Are Archie and Lilibet even biologically theirs? And now this isn't just late night internet noise. Supporters of these claims say the dots have been there for years. Inconsistencies that never quite aligned, patterns that felt off, timelines that raised eyebrows but were brushed aside because questioning them felt forbidden. Until now.
That has always been her motive. She's money obsessed and always has been. And that is why she married Prince Harry. A great surprise and disappointment was to discover that Prince Harry had very little money. She imagined he'd be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. And she's having to make up for it now.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So, you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK. Of course I do.
The conversation, I'm told and I believe, was very early on in their relationship when Harry is bowled over by Meghan, is desperately in love, and already is talking about marriage. But long before their engagement is even announced, let alone they're married and she's pregnant. And he's sitting in Clarence's house with then Prince Charles and Camilla. And Camilla just laughingly says, well, any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair.
The Queen and the Duke.
Yes, and we just bumped into the Duke as we were walking by, which was so nice. So it'll be a nice moment to introduce the baby to more family, and my mom's with us as well. So it's been a really, here we go.
Another great grandchild.
Harry and Meghan promised to protect their children at all costs, but now those same children have become the center of their biggest nightmare. The shield they built has cracked, and everything they tried to keep hidden is spilling into the open. Think about it. This isn't about royal drama anymore. This isn't about family fallouts or press vendettas. The question haunting everyone is brutally simple. Who are Archie and Lilibet really? For any ordinary family, even whispering that question would feel unthinkable. But Harry and Meghan aren't ordinary. Their lives have been curated, branded, packaged, and sold to the world. Every moment polished, every narrative controlled. And that's exactly why the suspicion hits harder. Tom Bower claims surrogacy wasn't just a private medical decision. He suggests it may have been part of a much larger secret. And in the royal world, bloodline isn't symbolic, it's structural. Legitimacy isn't emotional, it's...
And that's why I think, I think Tina is a great journalist, and perhaps she has inside information. I don't see how the Sussexes can give up both the Netflix and the book deal. They won't be living in a Montecito cottage. They'll be more likely living somewhere in downtown LA, in a little hovel. That's their problem. They're stuck now. But, you know, the truth is about them. Then he wore a Nazi uniform at a party. Then he was wearing absolutely nothing in the nude at the party in Las Vegas. And he couldn't cope with the criticism because, in his view, he is a target. And it didn't help that his telephones were hacked by News International Rupert Murdoch's group here in London.
Constitutional. If this claim holds weight, it isn't just embarrassing, it's explosive. A direct hit to the monarchy itself. And then there's Prince Harry. Once the cheeky prince everyone rooted for, he's now tabloid ammunition. Memes paint him as clueless, others frame him as complicit. Reports out of Montecito describe chaos. Harry pacing rooms, snapping at staff, glued to headlines, spiraling under non-stop speculation. The irony is brutal. This is the man who made mental health his mission, and now he looks like someone drowning in his own unraveling. Watching the story he built his life around slip through his fingers. Meghan, meanwhile, is handling it differently. Cold, controlled, strategic. No public emotion, no visible cracks. Just lawyers, cease and desist letters, and silence. But here's the problem. The harder she tries to shut it down, the louder it gets. Like throwing gasoline on a fire and calling it damage control. People are digging deeper now, lining things up. And suddenly, moments that once felt odd are snapping into focus. The staged pregnancy photos, the blurry timelines, no hospital steps, no traditional birth announcements. A family story that always looked just a little too perfect. And when something feels staged long enough, people stop asking if it's fake and start asking why. Critics say Harry and Meghan had years to clear this up, years to be transparent, years to explain. Instead, they chose secrecy. And now that secrecy is detonating in the worst possible way. So here we are watching one of the most carefully constructed royal escape stories fracture under pressure. Whether you believe Tom Bower or not, one thing is undeniable: silence isn't calming anything. It's screaming. And then there's Tom Bower himself, a man who openly admits he's drawn to people who hide, who cloak their lives in mystery, who don't want their secrets found. He's done this before, dug where others were told not to. And history shows he's often been right. That's why this matters. And then comes another red flag people can't ignore: the distance, the absence. Archie and Lilibet are almost never seen with the rest of the royal family. Compare that to William and Catherine's children, constantly photographed with King Charles, Queen Camilla, and even the...
know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth date and time of the whole event. So, and also, even it goes down to the lawyer. The lawyer saying that in that statement, when they had that long attack on the Mail, which is astonishing, that Meghan, we know she lied in her statement.
Queen Elizabeth, warm moments, public bonds, family continuity. But with Harry and Meghan's children, almost nothing. No shared milestones, no public closeness. And people are asking whether that distance was intentional, either coincidence or quiet caution. Because if surrogacy alone was involved, that's a private choice. But if donors were involved and biological ties don't match what's been presented, then this isn't private anymore. This is a constitutional earthquake. The crown survives on bloodline. If that cracks, everything shakes. And Tom Bauer isn't some reckless gossip peddler. He's built a career uncovering truths the powerful wish stayed buried. When he drops something this serious, people listen, especially because many of his past claims later proved accurate. If this story gains traction, it won't just damage Harry and Meghan's image. It could erase their place in royal history altogether. And what makes it worse? They need money. They need relevance. They're tied to Netflix, tied to book deals. Criticism doesn't matter if controversy keeps the lights on, but this kind of controversy doesn't just bruise brands, it destroys legacies. And still, silence. No statements, no denials, no attempt to clear the air, not even the simplest move that would end the speculation. Just quiet. And silence doesn't soothe storms, it feeds them. Every day without an answer, suspicion grows louder. Hashtags trend. Panel shows dissect every frame. Photos are analyzed, timelines pulled apart. What started as whispers has become mainstream debate. Social media is flooded with the same question. If there's nothing to hide, why not prove it? From a PR standpoint, this isn't just bad, it's catastrophic. The Sussex brand was built on authenticity. The modern family, the Montecito dream, love, healing, honesty. Every word carefully curated to sell stability. But now the cracks are visible. And these aren't surface scratches, these are deep fractures no glossy interview can conceal. For Harry, this cuts deeper than any scandal before. Fatherhood was his anchor, his redemption, the meaning behind everything he sacrificed. And now critics are asking the one question that shatters everything. What if the children he built his entire identity around aren't biologically his? That question doesn't just wound an image, it destroys a man. Because when that question lands, it doesn't bounce, it burrows. This isn't just another hit piece for Harry, this goes straight for the core of who he believes he is. Remember, this is the boy who walked behind Diana's coffin, frozen in history as grief incarnate, the prince the world protected, the spare who was supposed to survive anything, and now he's being boxed into two humiliating narratives, neither of which offers dignity. Either he's the naive puppet, blindly dragged along, unaware of what was happening right in front of him, or he's something far worse in the public imagination, an active participant in what critics are openly calling a royal level cover-up. One version paints him as weak and pitiful. The other paints him as calculating and dishonest. Both strip him of agency. Both leave him looking powerless. A man who can't even control the truth about his own children. And insiders say it's breaking him. Behind the gates of Montecito, the mood is reportedly dark, heavy, suffocating. Harry is described as obsessive now, glued to articles, watching YouTube videos tearing apart pregnancy timelines, rereading comments dissecting photos frame by frame, barely sleeping, pacing rooms, snapping at staff, spiraling into paranoia. The anxiety isn't subtle anymore, it's etched on his face. The cruel irony hasn't gone unnoticed. This was supposed to be the mental health prince, the man who preached therapy, openness, healing, and now he looks trapped in a spiral he can't escape, unable to follow the very advice he once sold to the world. Meghan, on the other hand, isn't unraveling publicly. She's going cold, strategic. Reports say her lawyers are working non-stop, firing off legal threats, demanding stories be pulled, warning outlets to back off, but every move meant to silence the story is only amplifying it. Because legal muscle doesn't erase moral doubt, it doesn't answer questions, it only makes people think there's something worth hiding. And then there's the palace. The silence from King Charles is deafening. No public warmth, no reassuring statements, no visible grandfatherly gestures, no birthday messages, nothing that normally flows effortlessly for royal children. When you place that next to the constant visibility of William and Catherine's children, the contrast is impossible to ignore. People are starting to ask if this distance isn't punishment, but protection. A calculated decision to keep space in case the worst turns out to be true. Because if the monarchy itself doubts the legitimacy of Harry and Meghan's children, this isn't gossip. It's a constitutional crisis waiting to explode. Quietly behind palace walls, whispers of contingency plans are said to be circulating. Legal risks, succession implications, titles, fallout. Questions no one ever wanted to ask are now being asked in private rooms. What happens if the story collapses? What happens to the line of succession? What happens if the truth doesn't match the narrative sold to the public? And still, Harry and Meghan say nothing. No transparency, no records, no clear explanations for the gaps people keep pointing out. Just silence and lawyers. In the court of public opinion, that silence no longer reads as dignity. It reads as guilt. The public remembers the Netflix series, the polished speeches, the staged Instagram moments, the endless talk of honesty, healing, and breaking cycles. So when that same couple now refuses clarity on something as fundamental as their children's origins, the hypocrisy stings. It feels like a brand collapsing in real time, and the damage may already be permanent. Harry, once seen as brave and rebellious, now looks like a man unraveling. Friends from his military days have reportedly pulled away. Those who once respected his courage now whisper that he's lost himself. His identity as a royal shattered. His identity as a husband questioned. And now even his identity as a father is under scrutiny. That's devastating. Because if fatherhood was his last moral ground, what happens when even that is doubted? Meghan remains unshaken on the surface, deflecting, controlling, threatening lawsuits. But legal pressure can't bury suspicion. If anything, it hardens it. Critics argue that if the truth were simple, it would have been shown already. And every refusal just deepens the belief that something doesn't add up. The public isn't blind. They see the contradictions, they hear the vague answers, they remember how carefully the Sussex story was curated. And now that story is collapsing under the weight of unanswered questions. The royal family's silence seals it. No one rushing to defend them, no institutional safety net. It feels like the crown has quietly stepped back, leaving Harry and Meghan alone in the storm they helped create. What's clear now is this: the Sussex fairy tale is cracking beyond repair. The story of freedom and honesty is suffocating under secrecy. And the longer the truth is dodged, the louder the fallout becomes. In the end, it all comes down to one unavoidable choice: prove it or don't. One path could end the speculation overnight. The other guarantees this question never dies. Because questions about bloodlines don't fade. They linger, they rot, and they decide how history remembers you. Harry and Meghan gambled everything on a narrative of truth. And now that narrative is being ripped apart by silence, suspicion, and one question that refuses to disappear. Who are Archie and Lilibet? Really? That question isn't going away. It will haunt them. It will haunt the monarchy. And unless the truth finally comes out, this scandal won't fade into the background. It will echo, frown. It will echo, frown. It will echo.